So welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining this session on housing and residence life. We're really excited that you're here with us to learn more about the residence life process, housing, community at Reed. My name is Grant Sewell, Associate Dean of Admission at Reed, and I'm going to be serving as the moderator here, but I'm going to turn it over to our two residence life experts in just a minute to get us started. But I also want to share before I do that, that we're mindful that you might have questions that you're curious to know about, housing, the roommate process, other things that might be on your mind. And perhaps the best way to do that and ask those questions would be through the chat feature of Zoom. So towards the bottom center of your screen, if you have questions as we're going, feel free to share those in the chat and we'll work to speak to as many things as we can during the session time that we have. But with all that in mind, I will go ahead and turn it over to our two hosts. We have Vanessa and Leo.
Hi, everyone. My name is Vanessa Guerrero, she, her pronouns, and I serve as the Director of Residence Life. I'll give us a brief rundown of kind of what we're going to talk about today, and then I'll have Leo introduce himself. So we'll go over introductions. Obviously, we'll introduce ourselves to make sure you know who we are. We'll share a bit about our Residence Life staff, including our pro staff and our student staff. We'll go through the housing portal, so we'll run you through that, of what that looks like, what you should be seeing on your end. Talk about some of the housing procedures, more specifically keys, animals on campus, stuff like that. We'll go over our residency requirement and what that looks like. Talk about the housing contract, programming, some general student leader information, and then we'll have a Q&A at the end. We'll try to do our best to answer the questions that come in the chat as they come along as well. Okay.
Hi, everyone. My name's Leo. I am the Assistant Director for Residence Life here at Reed College. We'll jump right in here, talking a little bit about the staff who support us here at Residence Life. We have staff here located at 28 West, which is a building where our campus safety is located. Our central office staff is made up of myself, Vanessa, our director, and then our operations coordinator, Christina. If your students are ever in need of help, we're always here located in our offices, and we just help with the day-to-day operations of residence life, making sure that we are available for other departments and students. Apart from ourselves, we also have full-time professional staff members who live amongst our residents and students. These are area coordinators. These are full-time professionals who serve on on-call capacity. They help build community within the residence halls, and they are one of the direct point persons that your students will have amongst their residence hall. Working alongside our area coordinators are also our house advisors, or our HAs. These are at least sophomore students who have lived within the residence halls and are student leaders who work really as resources for your students. They live in the halls with them, they put on programming for them, and they also serve as someone who can help enforce community guidelines, can be someone to talk to if they're struggling to build community on campus, to point them and connect them with other resources on campus as well. And they also serve on on-call rotation by walking around the campus at night, serving on a rounds rotation to ensure that things are going well on campus. And if not, communicating with community safety or our area coordinators on call to make sure that folks are being safe on campus.
All right, we're going to go ahead and jump into the housing portal. So give me a moment while I stop this share and open up a different screen. All right. Can you give me a thumbs up if you can see that? Somebody, okay, sweet. Grant, you showed me you could, so I'm gonna go ahead and move forward. So we're gonna go, like I said, through the housing portal and just go through the pages that we have available, making sure that you understand what you should be filling out, what we recommend, the parts where we encourage you to be fully honest about how you want to live with your roommate. And so when you log into the portal, which you will use with your Reed login information, so if you haven't set up your Carebos account, you won't be able to get into the portal just yet. So make sure you do that first, then log into the portal. The application opened on May 1st. It will close on June 1st at 11:59 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, so our time. If you're in a different time zone, just be mindful of that. So you'll log in, you'll see the student welcome. Right now, we're impersonating one of our professional staff, so we'll go through this, and anything that we make won't impact any students' applications. Right, so it talks about residency requirement, application and assignments, location, eligibility, occupancy and roommates, information for transfer or non-traditionally aged students, first-year neighborhoods, returning student neighborhoods. Once you read through all of that, we do recommend that you read everything, obviously. But once you get through this piece, then you'll go ahead and click Save and Continue. Oh, but it logged me out. Just give me one moment. I knew that was going to happen. Okay. Jump back in. Okay, sweet. If you leave it sitting for too long, it's going to log you out. So just a heads up there. Save and continue on to the next one. As you are going through the application on this side here, you'll see all of these little red dots. As you go through them, it will check them off. So if at any point you're in the application process and one of these little boxes is not checked off, that means you have not completed it. So we always recommend going back to that portion and making sure that you filled out all of the components. Here in student information, this is what we have provided through Iris. You are able to go in through Iris, which is one of our Reed sites, and make updates as you need to. So if your name on here is not the name that you go by, then you can make that adjustment. You know, your address and stuff will be in there. If you want to add those in your phone number, you can, you don't have to. Hit save and continue. If you don't hit save and continue, it will not count it as being done, right? Here we do ask if you're interested in seeking out accommodation requests through DAR. If you click yes or no, those are up to you. If you do click yes, you do need to reach out to DAR to begin that process. So they do have a notification that comes through to your email, to your Reed email, and says, hey, you indicated that you'll be requesting disability-related housing accommodations. Please make sure that you reach out to DAR. Has their email included. I think some folks, may have already started reaching out. Well, that's great because they do get kind of flooded with requests. And so they want to be able to make sure that they can provide a timely response. So we always recommend reaching out sooner rather than later, right? If you click no, it will still send you an email follow-up that says, hey, on your application, you indicated that you are not going to be seeking disability-related accommodations. If you change your mind at any point, please reach out to DAR. So yeah, we send those to you and make sure that you know. So I'm going to say now. Move forward. Lifestyle questions. So these are the questions that we ask you about your roommate, about kind of the roommate that you're looking for. We ask that you are completely honest in these questions, or as honest as you can be, because oftentimes we find someone says, yeah, I'd like to go to bed early, but by the time they come to college, they're like, actually, I really enjoy staying up late and I prefer that. And so the more honest that you are here, but we are hoping that we can prepare you with someone who is a better suited roommate for you to reduce kind of any natural conflicts that you might run into, right? So if they're a morning person and you're a night person and they like to go to bed at 7 o'clock at night and you're like, I'm up until 3 a.m., maybe that's not a great fit. And so being honest here is the easiest way for us to work and find a better match for you. And so questions like, do you smoke? So we'll go through these. How would you feel if your roommate was a smoker? Neutral, right? How would you describe your cleanliness habits? Again, we ask that you are honest with this one. There is no judgment, but please be honest, right? So if your room is occasionally messy, put that on there, right? If you're like, if it's a rough week, it's going to be messy, then make sure you indicate that. Or if your room is spotless all the time, then that's even great too. Like go ahead and indicate that thing as well. Preferred room atmosphere. So here we ask you, what are you essentially looking for in your room space? Do you want it quiet and peaceful? Do you want it lively and social? Or are you looking for a nice balance in between? And then, so I'd like my roommate and I to peacefully coexist, hang out once in a while, become friends. We found that more often than not, students want to become friends, which is great. And so we try to find individuals, again, who want to become friends to pair them up in terms of roommates. How often do you plan on having guests and friends over? We do ask this question because some people become a bit more social when they arrive to campus and once they make more friends. And oftentimes one room or a couple of rooms can become a pretty quick hangout spot. And so we just ask, like, what are you hoping in terms of what your space will be? So, how often are you going to invite friends over or guests? So rarely, maybe once or twice a semester, occasionally, often, or all the time, right? So again, your preferences, just make sure you let us know. Asking if you're a morning person, a night owl, or somewhere in the middle. So we have these options here. Morning person, early bird catches the worm. Depends on the day. I'm pretty flexible either way. Night owl, 8 p.m. to 3 a.m. is when I thrive. That personally is not when I thrive, but I'm glad that it might be some of you. Right, and so here, do you consider yourself a heavy or light sleeper? Light sleeper, in the middle, heavy, those options there. And then how do you view your place? Your room, just a place to sleep, a place to socialize, a place to do everything if I'm not in class. So again, just in these questions, and then this last question here, are you open to living with a roommate who holds a different gender identity than you? Again, we ask that you are honest in these questions. If at some point you answer them and you're like, actually, I would like to make a change to that, now that I've thought about it, or actually I'm not comfortable with somebody who's a smoker, you can email us and we can make that update on the back end, but let us know so that we can make that adjustment for placement so that you're not potentially with someone who is a smoker and you're like, actually, I'm not comfortable with that. Right. We do have an option for you to provide a personal bio. So when you're looking for roommates or a roommate, we do encourage that you go ahead and provide a description of who you are, things that you enjoy doing. If you have a specific like Spotify playlist or Apple playlist, or if you like a specific, rapper, if you're in on the Drake and Kendrick thing, you can add that in there if you'd like. Shows that you watch on Netflix as well, or movies that you like, books or anything like that. You can add that in there so that hopefully it's matching you up with your roommate there. So if you uncheck this box, so like just make sure you read this part, right? See, if you wish to be excluded from the roommate search in the portal, please uncheck the box. If you wish to be included, please leave the box checked. So yeah, just make sure that button right there is checked. And then save and continue. Scroll down a little bit. So since I didn't provide anything and I didn't actually go through the application process, no roommates are going to show up for me. So, we do like to remind people there are limitations to the number of single rooms that we have. And so while everybody may ask for a single room, at some point we do run out of them because our buildings are not fully single rooms. And so we do encourage that as much as possible, you try and look for a roommate. So that way, if we pair you with someone, it's someone who you've selected or someone who has a similar compatibility to you. All right. And it tells you if you don't have a roommate selected. If you do, this would update and say who that is, what their email is. And so then that would show up there. Okay. We ask you about our interest-based housing. We do have 2 options for interest-based housing for this next year for our incoming class. We have our Students of Color community and our Queer Collective. The Students of Color community will be a combination of returning students and incoming freshmen. After working with our incoming freshmen this year and some of our returning students, they had asked for an opportunity to expand that community, and so we have. And we're looking at also expanding Queer Collective in the following year. And so both of these communities are, like I said, interest-based, and so we do have an additional component here. So I'm going to go ahead and say yes, so we can see that extra component as you're going through, because we have a couple of questions that we'll ask you. If you're not interested in interest-based housing, you can say no, and you'll move through the process. Okay. Here we ask you which one you're interested in. So you click add. You can say either one. You can say both. Say both. Click OK. So now that's been added officially. And then save and continue. And then we ask for a couple questions. So like I said, 2 questions here. You do not have to give us a full 5-page paper. We're asking for 1 to 2 paragraphs on why you're invested in being a part of the community and what you're seeking within that living option and how you will contribute, right? And so in these, we do ask that you go ahead and provide us with 1 to 2 paragraphs on why you're interested in these spaces and how you're going to contribute. Always encourage using like Word or notes and then adding it into the portal. So that way, if it logs you out or something, it doesn't vanish, right? So hopefully your answers that you've been working hard on to provide don't just disappear, right? So work on them on something else and then upload them into here. So this is a test. So I'm just going to put test in both of them because you have to provide a response. So that little I will disappear once you've responded. And then you can move forward. If you don't provide a response, the little I will remain and it won't let you move forward until you do that. Okay. And then this here are your housing preferences. So you'll go ahead and look at the options that we have, Nato Sullivan, Trillium, singles and doubles, right? And so you'll select them, right? And that one, add preference. I'm adding 3 preferences, right? I want to make sure that I have as much options as possible. And we'll add 1 more. Let's see, singles. If all of your preferences are singles, make sure you add those. We do encourage that you at least look at one of the doubles in that 3rd option, provide us with that in the case that you're placed in a double. It's helpful to know which building you prefer over the other. Right, so I've selected them, put my preferences in. And then down here, we do ask a question about your priority, right? So if your priority is your roommate, make sure that it says prefer roommates. If your priority is your room preferences, then make sure that you go ahead and indicate room preferences. This when we do our auto allocation, will indicate what is a higher priority for you and we'll do its best to provide you with that priority. Save and continue. Meal plans here. And so we do ask you what meal plans you're going to have. Every student who lives within a residence hall is required to have a meal plan. So make sure that you fill this out. You can select which one you'd like. In this portion here, you can see a little bit about what each plan is, right? So plan A, students who will eat almost every meal on campus. Plan B, students who will occasionally miss meals on campus and may take advantage of late night dining. And then plan C, students who do not plan on eating all of their meals on campus. So we encourage, like, if you're someone who's like, I want to spend more of my time in the commons, then plan A. If you're like, I'm probably going to cook stuff in my own space, use the community kitchen, looking at plan C or plan B for you. And we do have like a marketplace and a cafe on campus where you can also use your board points. And so if you're like, I don't necessarily want food, but I want coffee and pastries, or I want sushi to grab and go, there are those options as well. Okay. So I'm gonna pick A, right? Again, like the little I will disappear once you've done that. So you can save and continue and move on. Grad Guard. This is one of the insurance or personal coverage that you can seek for your personal property. We strongly recommend that all students obtain some sort of renter's insurance. This is one of the services that we go through. You don't specifically have to utilize them. It is up to you. But we do recommend just in general students having renter's insurance for their stuff here on campus. Moving. All right, we'll take you in. Let's see. It's going to take me out of here. So this is when you jump in, this is what it looks like. Sign for Reed College. We'll tell you just the general stuff. You can purchase or you can decline. I'm going to hit decline because I don't actually live on campus. So it says if not sure, you can answer this here. You can say either one. Right, and continue. So it tells you you've declined it. So that they make sure that you know that you've declined that. So that way, if you're like, no, I do want it, you will have to reach out to GradGuard at this email here and say, hey, I'm actually interested. I initially declined, but I would like to seek insurance here. Save and continue. Housing contract. This is if you're under 18, this is what it will say. You read through the dates and information, dates of the contract, both for the fall and spring semester. Incoming students, you move in a little bit earlier than our returning students because you have orientation. And so you'll be on campus a few days before those students come, before the returning students come, right? Talk about room fees. You can see the updated fees for next year have been posted. All of our dorms are the same cost. The difference is when you're in the apartments, right? Board plans, again, you can see the fees on our main site, and you can also continue reading our contract on our main site. You have to include your student ID, which I think this one is that. And then if you're under 18, you have to include your parent's name. Right, and you can print this page if you'd like, totally up to you, you don't have to. If you like to keep records of documentation, then we encourage that you do. Save and continue. Submit your application. Great, you've gone through the entire process. Like I said, on this left-hand side, all of these little check boxes will show up, or all of these check marks will show up once you've completed all of those pieces, right? So the last thing I have to do is submit my application, right? Make sure you read. Yep. Okay, submit application. Boom. So now your application has been submitted. We will receive that information on the backside, and then in mid-June is when we do placements for incoming students. I'm gonna stop sharing. I saw a couple questions pop up, so let me see just real quick if I can answer any of them while we're here. Okay. Actually, looks like Leo has done a great job. Oh, question about our Plan B and Plan C less expensive. There is a difference in cost. Plan A is the most expensive plan that we have, right? It's more board points, so you're paying for more because it has more value in it. So does Plan B or Plan C for the meal mean that there are a limited amount of meals per week? So it's not based on meals, like meal swipes. It's like a balance amount. So if you think of like a gift card, it's preloaded with an amount and you pick items and it takes that like specific amount for what you've purchased off of that total limit. And so if you start with $2,648 and your meals are occasionally $12 each, it'll take off that $12.68, $10.72. It just depends on what you end up purchasing there. Who should I direct my questions to about dietary accommodations and allergies? Dietary accommodations, we do encourage that you reach out to DAR first and try and work with them through that process and see what kind of accommodations are possible. Let's see. Okay. Are dorms smoke free? Yeah, all of our on-campus housing is smoke free, and so students should not be smoking within the dorms, right? If there are concerns that someone is within the hall, you're more than welcome to contact community safety. But in the community expectations at the beginning of the year, the HAs do go over that and say, hey, like this is a smoke-free zone. There are smoke spaces on campus that you can utilize, just not within the residence halls or housing. If we go with Plan B, can we add more money? Yeah, you certainly can. There's an option on the website to add more board points for your student or for yourself. Yeah. See, question here. Are bathroom showers usually divided by walls and doors or with curtains? And how many people in general are sharing up to one bathroom? In our first year halls, Trillium does have full like individual shower stalls and some ADA accessible fully enclosed units. Within Nato Sullivan, those restrooms are community style, but full stalls that close and shut. And so they're like the traditional bathroom where you can see people's feet if you go in. But Trillium is full door, full closure in there. Okay. We're going to go ahead and jump back into the presentation and Leo will kick us, or we'll jump back into the presentation. And then while we do that, I'll also try and answer some of those questions. Let's see. Okay. Back into the presentation. We went through the portal. That's great. We really don't know how else to emphasize this. Encourage that you do sign your housing contract. Obviously read it first. Make sure that you understand just the general expectations of being on campus and our campus housing. And then once you do that, make sure that you also sign it. And so typically that becomes available after we provided you with your assignment. So in mid-June, you'll have the opportunity to go through that. There is an option to read it while you're submitting your application. And so again, read it as much as possible to make sure that you know it. And if you have questions, by all means, reach out to us and we can go ahead and provide answers or address some concerns that you're seeing within some of the housing options there. Again, sign your contract. We cannot give you a key. We cannot give your student a key if the housing contract is not signed. Okay.
Great. Thank you, Vanessa. A couple notes about some of our housing procedures. So first year students, when they arrive at campus, part of your move-in process will include picking up your keys. So we'll have those available when students are checking in. If for whatever reason a student is locked out of their room, students can always communicate to or call community safety to unlock their door. Community safety is happy to do this, but we'll limit this to 5 times a semester without a penalty. Just want to make sure that students are being mindful of where they place their keys. The last thing we want is for a room key to end up in someone else's hands, and then someone enters your student's room. At the end of the year, students will be asked to return their keys to the physical plant building on campus, and any lost keys will incur a charge of $235. So please communicate to your students to keep track of their room key. We are sorry, thanks, Vanessa. In the event that one of your students' rooms needs attention, facilities also has this form that they can fill out if their window screen is broken, if there's a hole in the wall that needs to be patched up, if there's a light that goes out and a light bulb needs to be replaced. Those things can be taken care of via an online maintenance request. So we ask that students favorite this link, bookmark it, make sure that they have easy access to it. But also an area coordinator or a housing advisor is also a really good resource to connect with in the event that they can't find one or they have questions about how to go about fixing something, not only in their room, but if they found something within the residence hall that needs tending to. With regard to animals, Reed is a pretty animal-friendly campus, but want to remind students that service animals are really the only animal that can go outside of the residence halls. These are permitted to accompany persons with disabilities in all areas of these facilities. ESAs must stay within a student's room, and these need to be approved via our DAR office. And so students need to provide the appropriate documentation to be able to be approved for those. But outside of cats or dogs, Reed is very pet friendly when it comes to small caged animals and fish. Those are permitted within the residence halls. But we also do want to stress that all animals must be removed during breaks. So winter break, summer break, these animals need to be removed from the residence halls as we have less students on campus. A little bit about our residency requirement. So all first year students and sophomore standing students are required to live on campus. What that means is students are required to live on campus until they have lived on campus for 4 semesters. And so if a student that's only lived on campus for 3 semesters applies for housing, they're guaranteed housing for the following semester. So how will I know if I should expect to live on campus? You're a first year student, so everyone who's enrolling for fall 2024, or you are a rising sophomore or a transfer sophomore. We do have students that don't end up filling out the housing application. However, if they do fall into one of these 2 categories, we will place them into housing on our end because, again, they are required to live on campus and they're also guaranteed housing on campus. Going back to talking about some of our housing advisors, some of the programming they do specifically for first year students, one additional component that our housing advisors do is intentional conversations. So one of the things that we want to make sure with our first year students is that they are transitioning well on the campus, they're getting connected. And so our HAs will make sure to connect with the residents on a quarterly basis to make sure that students are doing well, get an idea of how classes are going. We have 4-week comments, 8-week comments, things like that. Make sure that they're feeling supported and also finding their way as a transition onto Reed. HAs will also provide area programming, either just within their specific area with their group of residents, but also larger monthly area programmings. And some of the things that have been done in the past have been things such as boba blasts, self-care events, movie nights. I know that getting some pizzas and putting on a movie is a pretty popular thing to do here at Reed, and our students really enjoy that. We also do some larger departmental programming. Early during orientation, we do late night bites. I think this past year we were able to get some heyday donuts out here from Portland. And then we also did some end of the year donuts just a week ago and got Voodoo Donuts to come out here. And this is a picture that you can see there from that event.
All right, that is the end of our presentation. We're gonna go ahead and try and answer some of these questions that are still here in the chat. So let me see where we're at. Which is the best way for new students to decide which dorm they want? Is there info someplace? Yes, on our website, we do have information about the housing options in addition to images of what they look like. And so if a student is like, yep, I want more spaces with community kitchens and with more, you know, I don't know. I'm thinking of like large lounge spaces. Trillium might be the option. If they're like, I want somewhere that's closer to the parking lot, Nato Sullivan is going to be the option there, right? And so both of our spaces have singles and doubles. And so just looking at those images on our site is going to be the best option in seeing what is available. Jumping down, let's see. Parent. Where? Okay, let's see. Is on-campus housing guaranteed for all 4 students or for all 4 years? My bad. It is not. Guaranteed on-campus housing is only for the first 2 years, and students are required to live on campus those first 2 years. If a student is coming in, you know, they're here for their first 2 years and then as a junior, we always recommend completing the housing application. And if for some reason they do not get housing, we do put them on the wait list and then provide them housing as opportunities become available. And so for the most part, we've successfully been able to get everyone off of our wait list for this upcoming year. And so we do try to work with students to provide on-campus housing if that is what they're seeking. But yeah, junior and senior year, you're able to live off. Yeah, you're able to live off those for those 2. So if you really want housing, make sure you go ahead and submit that application. Let's see. Okay. When deciding a roommate, what does groups mean? Groups mean it's just you and whoever the roommate is. We classify that as a group. And so if you find someone, you can add them in, and there should be like a little code that you can send to them, or you can invite them. It'll say like invite, and then you invite that person, and then they can join your group. What does a divided double mean? Divided doubles mean that there's a full wall that completely separates the 2 bed spaces within one room, right? We do have some undivided doubles or some partially divided doubles. So most of Trillium is mostly divided. And so it's like a three-quarters of a wall that's from floor to ceiling. You open the door and then it like splits into 2 rooms essentially. Is the pricing the same if you get a single or a double? Yes, all of our residence hall rooms are the same price across the board. Again, the only difference is when you move into the apartments and there's a double or a single apartment. Are only dorms available for freshmen, or are the only dorms available for freshmen, Nato Sullivan, Trillium, and Sitka? Yes, those are the only residence halls that we'll be using this year for incoming freshmen. Yes, this is being recorded to view later. Okay. What is the percentage of a first-year student actually being able to get a single? That's a great question. I will say that Trillium and Nato Sullivan do have a good amount of single rooms. The kind of where we end up is a lot of students will request singles. And so it really is dependent on the class that's coming in and how many students within that class are selecting singles. And so we can't provide that percentage at this time because it is we can only really calculate that after we've got all the applications from students. Are caged birds permitted in the dorms? Yes, they are. Yes, you keep them caged. You know, don't let them fly out in the common areas and anything like that. You know, to make sure they stay in your space. If the bird is like a giant bird, like a vulture, then we might have to have a little conversation. But if they're like small parakeets or like a cockatoo, should be fine. Are the language houses available for freshmen? Language houses are not available for freshmen. Those are available starting your sophomore year, and we do give priority to sophomores for the language houses. Let's see. Besides smoke-free, are there any substance-free areas or options in roommates in the survey? We don't currently include those pieces within our survey questions or in our housing specifically. We do have resources on campus. So if a student is concerned about another student using substances, or they're concerned about themselves using substances, we do have resources available if they would like to seek those out. What are some key differences? Question disappeared. What are some key differences when deciding between Nato Sullivan and Trillium? Personally, I would say the size of the window. The windows in Trillium are massive. So if you're someone who's like, I don't need that much sunlight, I just want like a small window that I can easily contain, put a little curtain up of, then that's one of the biggest differences. The windows in Trillium are floor to ceiling, and so it's a lot more area to cover if you're like somebody who wants the room to be completely dark. And the bathrooms, right? We did say the bathrooms were a bit different. But yeah, those are the biggest differences that we note. Where is interest-based housing located? So the Queer Collective is located on the first floor in Nato Sullivan, and then we have our BIPOC, our Students of Color community housed in Sitka this upcoming year, sorry. Since Sitka is going to be mixed with freshmen and upperclassmen, will the halls be mixed or just first years? So within Sitka itself, it will be a combination. So each hall will have a combination of freshmen and returning students. Sitka is not listed on the housing form because you have to complete the questionnaires in order to get into the community or to be considered for the community. So that's why we don't offer it, because the other spaces are open to without the additional supplementary questions. Someone said we see the Trillium rooms are floor to ceiling windows. Yes, we do have curtains that come down. They're like the relatively thick ones. They're I can't remember what material they're made of, but yes, we provide curtains to come down. So you do have those as well. Does the date of the application affect the room assignment? It does not. So yeah, you could turn your application in at 11:58 on June 1st, and you would still have the same opportunity as everyone who submitted it within the May 1st to June 1st timeframe. See, okay. If you're supposed to select your own roommate, why is there later a question asking if you want to prioritize the roommate or the room selection? So we asked this, right? Some people are open to having a roommate, but they would much more prefer their room. And so they may select a roommate, but actually want like a single room. And so that's why we asked that question. So if someone's like, I'm open to living with a roommate, but I would prefer to have a single, they still have that option to indicate who they would be comfortable with living with. If you pick a roommate, could you get unmatched by Reed if there is a difference in dorm preferences? You could, right? And so we ask that, when you're looking at your preferences and you're talking with your potential roommate, trying to line that up as much as possible to make sure that the chances of you being placed together are far greater. And then the last question we have here, are there floor plans available on various dorms? Yes. So on our website, we've Residence Life, Reed College, we do have floor plans. You have to go onto the website to be able to see them, but we have floor plans of every space on campus in addition to what our bathrooms look like too. And so if you're really trying to see those, we do encourage jumping into our website. I'll take a breather and I'll actually find the link for you so you can see it. So give me just a minute. Okay. Yeah, so in the link I added, you should be able to see our residence halls. And if you scroll down, if you click on each hall here, I'll show it. I actually can share my screen. Super easy. So if you go in and you're interested in Sullivan, you click on Sullivan, you scroll down. Here's an outdoor picture of what it looks like. You can click through some of the pictures here, some of the common areas, right? Some of the rooms. Okay, keep scrolling, tell you how many rooms we have, 51 singles, 16 double rooms, multi-level, elevators. Great, keep scrolling, you'll see all this information. So if you're like, I was assigned to 303, you go in, it's a single, you can see that. And then keep going, view the floor plan. And so this is what you'll see, right? And you can click on it too. Some of them you can click on it, it will zoom in. Right, so first floor, second floor of Sullivan, and then third floor of Sullivan. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Laundry is not coin-based, it's free.
Awesome. I want to offer a tremendous thank you to Vanessa and Leo for their time they spent with us today, sharing a little bit more. And we're also super excited to welcome you this fall. I know we've got folks coming from a little bit all over, and it's shaping up to be a really wonderful community. If you do have further questions, beyond today, admission@reed.edu is a great resource. If you have, maybe some specific residence life questions, it would be so res.life@reed.edu. Happy to be resources for you. And with that, I want to thank everyone for their time and engagement, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.